Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Hey, so is it time yet? Is it time to stop with all the nonsense, all the empty political rhetoric, all the fake compassion? Is it finally time to start having a real conversation about the actual facts of the matter? And I don't know, maybe some real solutions to this complete violent chaos? Probably not. Are Democrats gonna finally learn their lesson that their policies are completely insane, creating a heightened environment of crime and violence, which is having such incredibly wide-spanning shockwave effects that now even Democrat politicians aren't safe in their own cities, for Pete's sakes? Are they gonna reverse course? Do a 180? Nah, of course not. But of course, we're still gonna talk about it. I actually can't believe this. I mean, 2 weeks ago, I made a very similar video, and in that video, I said, here we go again. Well, it happened again. 2 weeks later, well, here we go again. It's happened again. Another Democrat politician has been the victim of a violent crime in a major Democrat stronghold, this time Washington, D.C. In other words, typical news, another story for another day. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so how many times has this happened? Whether it's a CNN journalist going to report on crime in San Francisco or some area, either getting mugged, assaulted, having their vehicles smashed and robbed, or whether it's a politician, a councilman, a governor like Gavin Newsom getting attacked, assaulted, or robbed on the streets, it just keeps happening. CNN journalists, Oakland councilman, small city socialist councilman in California just the other week, Gavin Newsom, multiple politicians in Washington, D.C. It keeps happening, and here it happens again as Democratic congressman becomes the latest carjacking victim as D.C. crime continues to rise. Since the start of the year, hundreds of drivers across the nation's capital have been robbed of their vehicles at gunpoint. On Monday night, the latest victim was a member of Congress. Representative Henry Cuellar, a Democrat representing a portion of South Texas, was carjacked in front of his Washington, D.C. apartment building, according to his office. He was not harmed, and the police later recovered the vehicle, a Toyota crossover. Mr. Cuellar was parking on Monday around 9:30 p.m. in the Navy Yard neighborhood, a stretch of restaurants, bars, and sports stadiums about a mile south of the Capitol, when three people wearing masks and black clothing swarmed the car, according to the U.S. Capitol Police, the agency leading the investigation. They pointed firearms at Mr. Cuellar's face and demanded the keys to the car. Let's take a look at the staggering numbers. Unlike many other cities which have seen crime fall this year, violent crime has continued to rise in Washington, with the city on pace to record the most homicides in 2 decades. The increase in carjackings has been even more pronounced. After rising during the pandemic, the number of carjackings exploded this year. There have been 753 across the city to date, according to the police, far surpassing the 485 recorded all of last year, already on pace to double the numbers this year. You know, the level of crime is getting completely insane. I know leftists love to point at certain figures, look, these specific crimes are down, or those specific crimes are down. That is a distraction. You know, maybe year over year, homicides went down, or possibly shootings went down in certain Democrat cities. But honestly, those crimes, for the most part, don't really affect people in their day-to-day. You know, gangland violence, gang assassinations, for the most part, that's criminal on criminal. Kind of just is what it is. I mean, obviously it's not a good thing, but that's not the kind of crime we're talking about. We're talking about crime that's targeting random innocent civilians on the street. And that right there, carjackings, armed robberies, random assaults, sometimes just indiscriminate random homicides, crimes that are committed by repeat offenders, people who the police know of, people who the police have arrested before, but they're simply allowing back on the streets, thanks to their legal system revolving door policies and no cash bail, simply allowing people back on the streets over and over and over again. In many cases, people who are legitimately deranged with mental illnesses, suffering psychotic breakdowns on the street at night or sometimes in broad daylight, randomly attacking people, or these young groups of organized criminals carjacking people or just stealing vehicles like the Kia Boys, or the massive string of retail theft that we've seen. You know, this is what we're talking about, because these crimes are preventable. But we have Democrats and their faux compassion racket, Democrats and their defund the police movement, who simply don't get it. Maybe they're kind of, sort of starting to get it. Here's Democrat DC Mayor Muriel Bowser on the issue of police recruitment.
We need more officers. We don't have the officers that we need, and sadly, we've lost 300 to 400 officers in the last 4 years. We haven't had officers in our schools, and we have policies that make it difficult to recruit new officers.
DC is 400 cops short. Quote, we have policies that make it difficult to recruit new officers. Yeah, I wonder where those policies came from. I wonder why police departments are having such a hard time recruiting fresh blood for the force. Could it possibly have something to do with this? Oh, I defund the police mural that was commissioned and approved, permitted by DC Mayor Muriel Bowser. I mean, absolute morons. I'm tired of being nice. Because obviously, being nice, this nonsense fake compassion is the reason we're here to begin with. How many more innocent people need to be victimized? Living in a Democrat city, we have public transportation. You don't need no car because we're so progressive and futuristic and woke. Yeah, that'd be great if there wasn't a constant threat of being attacked, stabbed, or shoved onto the freaking rails in your beautiful public transportation systems. Welcome to our liberal utopia. We have so much diversity. Look at all the tacos, all the kebabs, and all the butter chicken and pad thai that we have. Look at all these fancy districts. Yeah, that'd be great if I wasn't worried about once again getting robbed, stabbed, attacked while simply walking the street during sundown. Oh, what's this? Another indiscriminate, violent attack in New York City. Disturbing video shows moment beloved activist, a leftist activist and poet, is randomly stabbed to his ending in front of his girlfriend on NYC Street. Now, I could maybe play you guys certain moments, you know, the scene overall. I won't show you guys the actual attack because it's obviously awful. You know, it feels bad to make this political, but the fact is that to a certain extent it is. Obviously what happened here is horrible, but I feel like this situation is kind of a microcosm of the policy as a whole. You know, this leftist naivete of the world. You have a leftist and then you have an unhinged, clearly crazy person on the street who was armed, you never know, and this leftist thought it appropriate to interact with this individual as if he could calm the situation down. This is, in my view, a perfect example of liberal naivete, not understanding the element of danger, not understanding the real world. And then unfortunately, well, it tends to lead to some sort of consequence. It is the same thing on a widespread policy scale. These are the policies. This sort of assumption that bad things are gonna go away as long as we're more liberal and compassionate and understanding and tolerant. Yeah, you know what? I love tolerance. I love the idea of tolerance when it comes to living with different people of different, you know, viewpoints, religions, lifestyles, whatever it is, cultures. I have no issue with it. Be who you want to be who you are, celebrate and practice your religion and your culture, and do it with absolute freedom, acceptance, and tolerance. I have no issue with that. I have issue with tolerance and acceptance of violent crime and crime in general. That is not liberalism. That's not compassion. That is not social justice. That is insane and stupid. It's time to flip the whole tolerance notion on its head and start moving towards a basic societal standard of zero tolerance for any crime. Oh, people are just products of their environment. We need resources. We need social workers. Yeah, maybe to a certain extent that could help if you attack the actual core of the issue. You know, certain aspects of these theoretical investments, sure, they make sense. But what doesn't make sense is simply allowing criminals to be criminals and then just letting them back out on the street, or decriminalizing violent offenses, removing cash bail. The rich CEO gets to bail out, but the street criminal doesn't. Yeah, well, the rich CEO probably isn't gonna go back on the street with a knife and rob somebody at knife point. The desperate bottom of the barrel criminal, yeah, he might. That's a realistic threat. Maybe we should start thinking about those aspects and that level of nuance, instead of having this ridiculous, reductive binary worldview that is literally getting people hurt. Or in worst case scenario, people are losing their lives. Politicians are being carjacked. Random people are losing their lives because people are being let back out on the street who should not be on the street. Not to mention now with the migrant crisis, the illegal migrant crisis, let's not even call them migrants because really they're just illegal aliens who committed a crime and illegally entered the United States. Well, these people for the most part aren't accounted for. Well, I wonder what that's gonna do. Obviously, it's gonna continue to create an underclass, and with an underclass comes a criminal underclass, or a criminal element within the underclass. More desperate people will resort to violence and crime. Therefore, crime's gonna go up, but it'll be even harder to solve these crimes because the people committing them aren't accounted for in society. And you know, it's not like I'm being this big brain, mega genius who has it all figured out. No, it's just basic common sense. You don't have to be Ben Shapiro. You don't have to have a 200 IQ, graduating with honors at Harvard to be able to understand this stuff or predict this stuff. Leftist policies are so insanely stupid, so naive, they only work in a utopia vacuum. It should be obvious to literally anybody who doesn't have their head in the sand that these policies are dumb and chaotic. How many more Democrat politicians in Democrat cities need to fall victim to their own ridiculous policies and fall victim, of course, to crime? How many more innocent people going about their lives need to be victimized for Democrat politicians to get the frickin' message? Compassion is great, and I have compassion for all kinds of different people. Even leftists, even people whose lifestyles I have vehement disagreement with. I have compassion, respect, and love for those people. Criminals, I have no compassion and no respect for. And I feel like that should probably be the societal standard. And I don't think that makes me an evil, extremist, terrible, right-wing person. I think that is simply practicing basic common sense. Lefties, you ought to get with the program. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.